Hi everyone, this is Paul Green, and welcome to Martial Logic. And this is our episode on the bystander effect. Um, if it loaded correctly, you would have seen before this started a picture of Catherine Genovese, also known as Kitty Genovese. You can't really talk about the bystander effect without talking about Kitty Genovese, because that was the case when she was murdered on March 13th, 1964, by Winston Moseley. She was stabbed to death. That really brought this to the public eye. Um, it's very ironic because, in light of new evidence, and since the original print article, I wrote in 2006, um, a lot of it has actually been debunked as not being the bystander effect, because of the ways that the apartment complex was laid out. And you have to excuse me about my eyes. I just woke up and it's actually like 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm sorry. Hopefully that's not too annoying. But the way the apartment complex was laid out, they can't really prove that roughly about 36 of them even were able to, hear audibly enough of it to make an intelligent decision on what was happening. Two of them were, but those two called the police. But even though it, I said, was debunked as necessarily, being part of the bystander effect, it's still very tragic, and it still needs to be talked about because, like I said, this was the original case that brought it to the public's eye. Because the bystander effect is a real thing, and there have been a lot of studies done on it. And we're going to talk about some other instances and give you some other examples of it. But the way that this video is going to be laid out, it's going to be broken down into three parts. Some of them aren't going to be very long. This one right here will probably be the longest of the three. But it's just because we're going to tackle three different things. One, I want you to understand that the bystander effect is a real thing. That's a real problem. Okay. Two, after we know that it's a real thing and it's a real problem, why is it a problem? Why does the bystander effect take place? Three, if we know it's a real problem and we understand the problem, is there a solution for it? And there is. And that's why we, call this the science of countering the bystander effect. Because there is a real solution. Some of it, more of a long-term goal. Others, more short-term and stuff that you can do quickly. But as I said, this is a real problem. People die every day. So specifically, what is the bystander effect? The the bystander effect is basically the more people that witness a violent event, the least likely that any one of them will do anything, to offer help to fix it. And that, like I said, that was the main thing, with that. I see a lot of videos where people talking about like one person sees it. That's not really the bystander effect. It sucks, and it's terrible, but you wouldn't categorize that as a bystander effect when it's one person. The simple fact is that when one person witnesses an event, they're actually more likely to help than if it was a group. And that sounds counterintuitive, but it's true. And we'll go over some of the reasons why. I actually cut the lights out and everything here, because a lot of times some of the stuff in the background was kind of distracting and everything, and we want you to focus on this because it's very important. I want to show you one more picture before we continue. Okay, welcome back. The first picture you saw was of James Bulger. We see he's not quite 2 years old. He was kidnapped on February 12th, 1993 in Myerside, England, and his body was found murdered and mutilated on February 14th. Witnesses say he was kicking and screaming at the kidnapping. Um, in front of a lot of people, yelling help, and and things of that nature. He was kidnapped in a shopping center in full view of the public. Nobody did a damn thing. Um, by the way, the second photo, I said one, but I actually put up two photos. Is an actual photograph of James Bulger being led away after he got too tired to fight anymore. If you look, you notice all the people walking by. They're trying not to look like you see a kid get a whooping, or something like that. You're not looking at it. The 10-year-old on the right is actually one of the murderers, and that photo was actually taken from the security camera there. Um, did no one, I mean, want to help this kid? I mean, nobody, asked where his parents were or anything like that. I mean, it just it's ridiculous. In 1972, Dr. Wolfgang Friedman, who was a law professor at Columbia University, was shot to death in broad daylight by a 17-year-old during a mugging and bled to death right there on the sidewalk, and nobody did anything. In Wichita, Kansas, can't remember the year exactly. It was on June 23rd. I'll have to look it up. But LaShonda Calloway was stabbed to death in a convenience store. 5 witnesses just stepped over the body, and this is the most disgusting part. One of them actually took a picture with a cell phone camera. The police were livid. They were livid. And I can't blame them. That is absolutely disgusting. She was only 27. She actually died, later that night at the hospital. And the thing is, what gets me about it, and that one's very disturbing to me, is you think like, well, what could she was stabbed to death there. She was laying there dying. What could somebody have done? Well, shit. Think about it this way. They could have at least made sure that her last view of the earth wasn't over how disgusting and self-absorbed people are. That would have been a nice start. But once again, this stuff happens all the time. So once again, I want you to understand, that this is a real problem, and it's something that deserves a lot of attention, and it needs to be taken seriously. So, what what exactly, what the hell's wrong with these people? And we're going to take a break, and we're going to pick it up with another video, and we're going to talk about why the bystander effect happens, so you can understand it. Because if you understand it, you can counter it, and that's what we're going to do. So we'll see you on the flip.